Hey, everybody. We are back talking about maybe the most exciting topic anyone has ever heard about, which is the Portland metro area real estate market. I think it's fascinating. No, we're going to talk about August. We're going to talk about some historical data. We're going to tease each other because I'm in an office. Chris is in a laundry room. That's common if you've ever watched this before. But what we hope this does is it gives you clarity on if you're thinking about buying or selling real estate in the Portland metro area anytime this year going into 2025. We hope we could be a helpful resource for you. So we're going to start with everyone's most maybe the most common question in real estate, the most popular question we get, which is how's the market? And when we hear how's the market, what we think people are actually asking is what is going on with average sales price. Knowing what's going on with average sales price is a big indication of whether a seller will have success or not have success with their ability to sell their property. Higher the appreciation, the more homes sell. Lower appreciation, the fewer homes generally sell. And also for buyers, every buyer wants to wait for the market to dip before they buy, but generally that causes them to pause. And buyers enter markets when there's market appreciation because they can feel secure about that purchase. So if we look year to date, the last 8 months versus the same time period last year, we've seen the average sales price increase by 1.9% to $611,900. If you look last year, we saw the market depreciate by about 2.1%. So what's happened this year? We have basically got back the value we lost last year. Last year was kind of an outlier year. It was one of the five years in a 30-year period where home prices in Portland have declined. An easy bet to make is on housing appreciation in the Portland metro area because we do have a housing shortage. What have we seen this year? Moderate appreciation. Why is that important? Because the average seller this year is selling for a little bit more than the average seller last year. The average buyer is paying a little bit more. That is a sign of a healthy real estate market. Krista, thoughts, takes?
So one of the important things, because I do like a monthly market update, right? But every time we do a monthly market update, I don't give you the average sales price month over month. I give it to you year to date. And that is important because there are outliers every month that can dip and trend. I know 1 month out here in Sherwood, we had a $6.4 million sale. Well, that drastically changed that 1 month. But if we look at the big picture, that is a bigger, better story of what is actually happening, which is why we do year to date.
Yeah. The Portland market is a bell curve with how many houses sell with what the average sales price is. Usually you see the average sales price peak somewhere in May, June, or July. And then the back half of the year, you start to see a little bit of average sales price compression. So we like to zoom out because real estate is a long-term asset. Hey, if we zoom out a lot, here's a note that I have from ChatGPT. We had ChatGPT analyze 32 years worth of data for us so we could ask it questions about what's going on in the market from a historic standpoint so we can find out what some odds are because history has a tendency to repeat itself. Long-term growth, the average sales price has grown consistently over the years. For instance, in 2020, the average sales price was $494, and in 2023, even in a down year, it had increased to $598,000. One of the things I like to talk about a lot is in the last 30 years, we've had 25 years of appreciation. Well, we actually have that data now. It's 33 years. So it's 33 years. Sorry, we've had 5 years of depreciation in 33 years. It's just easier to say 30.
Yeah.
So, it is a safe bet. So how's the market? It's safe. It's reliable. Actually, I did an Instagram story the other day where I invested in ETF in the stock market. And it's called ARK, ARKK. And it's an innovation fund. And I've lost a lot of value in that. To give you numbers, it went from $32,000 to $11,000. And I'm just kind of stuck. And I've been there for 3 years. And I was making the case that you should invest in something that's safe and reliable, like the S&P 500 index. If I would have made that same investment in the S&P 500 index, I'd have $47,000 and not $11,000. I took a risk. I lost. I could have gone safe and reliable. I would put Portland real estate in that safe and reliable bucket. When you look at 25 years of appreciation in the last 30, it is just a safe asset. So how's the market? Safe. It's resilient. It's stable.
Well, if you look at how long the average person, what, stays in their home, was it 7 years? Around 7 years?
Getting longer. Now it's like more like 10 is what you see in
10.
most data.
So you buy a home and you hold that for 10 years and you do, year to date, you are going to see appreciation. Even if one of those years goes down, if that happens, you are still going to see appreciation. So that's when you're talking about a reliable long-term safe hold. One of the things when you're going to buy is just think about what your future plans are and how long you're planning on holding that asset.
According to the last 30 years, the average sales price doubles every 12 in
Right.
Portland. So
It's just
again,
like,
it's safe and it's reliable. So let's move on and talk about new listings. Last month, we had 2,669 new listings. Now I'm going to give a teaser. We had 2,052 sales. So the gap between that isn't very large, but we had almost 6,000 listings available. Today, there's about 5,500 listings available. And if we blend what's going on with new listings with the current pace of sales, if no new homes came to the market, it'd take about 3 months to sell all the listings. So, do we have a low level of new homes coming to the market from a historic standard? Yes. Do we have a lack of inventory? No. Do buyers have options? In most price points, yes. Do sellers need to be a little bit more competitive? In most price points, yes. So, Krista, what would you say about new listings?
so that's one of the big things when everyone comes up to me. They're like, "Oh, how are you guys doing? There's a short." That's what everyone's saying. Oh, there's a shortage of listings. Oh, there's not a lot of inventory out there. But then everyone also in the same thing will be like, and everything seems to be sitting. I'm like, well, yeah, there's a lot of things out there that are sitting. Buyers weren't quite as active. We'll see what happens now that maybe interest rates are starting to go on decline. Maybe that will give people a little bit more motivation or make them feel good in their tummy. Who knows? But listings are like, if you're a seller, you need to price right from the beginning, and that's where I'm still seeing a lot of new listings come out, and people are still in that 2021, 2020 mindset of like, I'll put it out there, I'll put it for whatever I want, and I'm going to get it. Well, no, now you're going to sit and have days on market. No one's going to want to look at. Buyers aren't stupid. No one's going to want to look at it. And then you start sellers like, why is no one looking at my house? Well, it's overpriced, right? Now you've dropped the price. Well, now it still might be a little overpriced. And if you would have priced it there from the beginning, that might have been the price you got, right? So it's this. Sometimes it's hard. You've got unique properties that are harder to maybe put out there that, is on acreage or has got, lots of cool amenities, things like that. But if you come out of the gate super, super high, most buyers will not want to look at the property and won't offer on a property that's overpriced. They just don't.
Yeah. And look, I think, there are not enough buyers in the market to buy every home. So there are cases where maybe even your home isn't overpriced, but it's not priced to sell.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that people need to look at too in this marketplace. Let's go to mortgage rates real quick, because the big news this week is that mortgage rates are at a February 2023 low.
Mm-hmm.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, Krista. In February 2023, mortgage rates really sucked.
That's what everyone told me. They were really high.
They're high. I always look at like, what's it mean? The average person in our community is buying a $600,000 home. I've asked mortgage broker after mortgage broker and real estate broker after real estate broker for the last couple of years, at what price, like at what payment will we have a robust market? And we're probably underestimating it a little bit, or, like we're probably getting it off a little bit because people do adjust. But that number is $2,500. That's what you hear over and over. Oh, $2,500, $2,500, $2,500. And I remember when I started selling real estate, people wanted $1,500, and then it was $2,000, and then it was $2,500, and the new number might be $3,000. Who knows, right? We have a tendency to see those jumps over time. But if you bought a $600,000 house today, you put 20% down. You got the prevailing rate today, which is 6.15%. Your taxes were 1%, and you had $1,000 for insurance. Your mortgage payment's roughly $3,500. In our community, the National Association of Realtors, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac would say that's still an unaffordable payment. This is a really important thing to key in on If maybe you're a seller sitting on the market right now, you're listed for sale, you're not having the success you want, what would someone's payment be on your home? How many buyers are like that in the market? Do you need to be patient? Do you need to adjust condition? Do you need to adjust price? Do you need to adjust strategy? I have this guy, he's my real estate dad, is what I call him. I'm not going to say his name, but he was in real estate for a long time, one of my early mentors. And we were talking the other day. I just wanted to hear what he's hearing from the real estate market because he runs with a group of realtors about 20 years my senior. And the answer was, oh, the market's strange. The market's odd. It's a bad description. The market's expensive. Less people can afford expensive products. That's just the reality. Payments are expensive. Home prices are expensive. By the way, that doesn't mean they have to come down. It just means less people can participate. And when less people participate, to Chris's point, if you have a home that isn't selling and it's overpriced for this market, in your mind, you might have to undervalue your home to get it sold if you really want to move on. And then you need to look at what's that trade that you're going into? And is it a fair trade? Is it worth it? I was just talking about a stock market trade that I'm in. Logic tells me to sell my crappy position in ARKK and go just put that $11,000 into the S&P 500 index and move on in something better. But it's hard, right? It's hard to sell, at a loss, or it's hard to sell, something when you don't want to. But logic would tell me it'd be better to take that money and put it in that S&P 500 index. It's going to grow faster, safer, more reliable, and trustworthy. Anything you want to add to that, Krista? That was a long rant. I'm sorry.
No, that was a great rant.
So let's look at pending sales just real quick. We just talked a lot of pending sales stuff. But last month we had 2,052 pending sales. Year to date, we have 15,564. Now that's 15,000 pending sales against 22,000 new listings, but we're not talking about the carried over listings. That's 5,500 homes on the market today, about 6,000 last month, 15,000 total sales in 2024. That is the discrepancy between buyers and sellers. The gap between sellers and buyers is at its largest point in the last 5 years. The question will be, with these still crappy, albeit better interest rates, how many buyers enter the market the second half of the year? Zillow thinks the fall market could be really robust. I don't believe so. I think history will repeat itself, what we saw last year, and we will have a slower Q4. Doesn't mean an unsuccessful one, but a slower one. What are your thoughts on pending sales, Krista?
Yeah, I tend to agree. I don't foresee anything with looking at the numbers that shows us that this fall. The only reason I could see this fall, and the only reason maybe Zillow do you think is predicting that, is because interest rates are coming down. So now they're just throwing out the magic happiness out there that it's going to be better, hoping that gets in the mindsets of everyone. Or people are, scared to miss out on the interest rates once they come down. Like that.
I've thought a lot about this, right? We have certainty of interest rates declining, it feels like, for some time. And I thought about how, are people going to rush back into the market in the fourth quarter? People have been on the sidelines for some time. Will that be time to go? Well, if you're a home seller, the situation isn't ideal. If you've been in a house for 10 years, what's another 6 months? Am I really going to buy myself out of my lease, which is certainly a much lower payment, to go into another house? If it's the right one, for sure. But again, I'm not sure if 6.15% interest rates, or, some of our wholesale lender friends that we have, they're quoting closer to 5.5. Now, 5.5, I think that's a different game.
Once it's under 6, I just know there's a lot of people, the uncertainty too. People don't like uncertainty. We have an upcoming election, right? And that could really, at this point, go either way. And I think that makes a lot of people nervous. So I'm just wondering if, hey, the interest rates are going down, but I still don't know what's happening with the election, if that's still going to hold people back. There's some people that are always going to be held back, right? There's buyers out there that they just can never quite get out of their own way or make that jump, right? But there's
people you see for years going to open houses that haven't bought a house yet and are still renting. Yeah. And, now it's like, well, that makes more sense because there hasn't been a huge cost of waiting. Mm-hmm. But in a normal marketplace where you're getting 5, 6, 7%, and you see the same people every weekend, they're like professional open house visitors.
Yeah.
You start questioning, Well, what is the issue?
Yeah.
You know, because you're just watching homes get more and more expensive.
Hmm.
And let's be real, with the cost of permits in the Tri-County area and the Portland metro area, you will never have affordable single family housing.
Yeah.
The cost of permits pretty much guarantee unaffordable housing.
Isn't
The
a
cost
permit
of a two
about
by four,
$80,000?
yeah, like I think it's 70 is
Yeah,
what you
like
see
right
on
around
average,
there.
right around there. Too expensive.
Yeah.
For context, I looked. One of the agents on our team was in Louisville, Kentucky, and we were talking about the cost of housing, and we looked at the cost of permits in Louisville, and I mean it is a fraction,
Oh my
like
gosh.
literally a fraction. Closed sales year to date, we have seen 14,562. That's a marginal decrease from last year. There was some carryover because pending sales are down 1%.
Hmm.
Closed sales are down basically 0.5%. Who cares? Nominal. But again, one of the things we talk about a lot is when market conditions don't change, history tends to repeat itself. This year, we're looking at a few more, and by a few more, a couple thousand more homes being left unsold. But what's good is the average sales price has been pretty resilient. So we'll see what happens here over the next 4 months. Are we going to lose those gains? Are we going to kind of neutralize? Has Portland kind of set a floor that the average sales price should be around $600,000? We'll see what happens. So let's give some advice to buyers and sellers going into the fourth quarter. What should people know if they're going to think about buying or selling a house going into Q4? And let's start with sellers.
So I constantly have people that reach out to me around this time thinking they maybe, hey, I missed the optimal time to sell my home. Should I wait until next spring? And right, it's always situational, right? But when I go to my clients and I look, depending on the type of home and the location, when you list, when there are less homes on the market, you're going to have less competition. People are moving year round. Yeah, the majority probably want to move in the summer because of schools and whatnot, but there are job transfers, there's deaths, there's divorces, there's babies being born, there's all types of things, right? That make it so people need to buy year round. So, depending on your home, it is not a bad time to sell, right? Now, I mean, for that also might be a time where there's less on the market, but maybe people will negotiate a little bit more, right? So there's pros and cons to both, and I think it's just really dependent on situation and what you're looking for and what your needs are.
Yeah. If we're talking to sellers, in my opinion, this is a season of people delisting their homes from the marketplace.
Hmm.
People that tried, they didn't want to adjust. They know things are going to be a little bit slower. So if you're good inventory coming new to the market, and one of the things I tell home sellers I'm working with actively is every day there are new buyers coming to the market. The question is how many are buying in your price point. So if you are someone who's thinking about selling in the fourth quarter, it's not as easy as saying it's good or bad. It's fast or slow. Where is your home? What is that price? What's that price band performing like?
Hmm.
Do you have a home that's just truly special that's going to sell any day of the week in any market? Or are you dime a dozen type of house? Because there's those too. I'd say the most important thing about selling in Q4 is it takes strategy. And another thing ChatGPT told me based off 32 years of data, which I think is pretty interesting, probably contrary to what most real estate agents would think, is generally there's more home sales in Q4 than there are in Q1. So if you are thinking about selling in the next 6 months, historic data would tell us there's more buyers now in Q4 than waiting till January or February. But again, real estate isn't a checkpoint or bullet list of ask these questions and this real estate agent is good or bad, or the market's doing this, so this is what's happening with your house. That's why I like this job. Every day is different. And some
Hmm.
houses you think are going to smoke off the market and they stay on the market a little bit longer, and vice versa. This is challenging. Anyone that tells you real estate is easy, I hated 2021
Oh,
Facebook and Instagram. I sold this house X amount of dollars over asking price. Where are those posts now? And people
yeah,
are selling them for X amount under, you
yeah.
know?
For
Like,
what in one day I had 30 offers, sold it for 100,000 over. I'm like, did you or did the
no,
market?
no wonder people dislike us so much. I mean, Seriously, as an industry, can you imagine like other professional professions doing that constantly? Look, we're grateful for our clients and we show it off too, but hopefully never look at our stuff and think we're taking all the credit for the success. So the market plays a big point in what's happening. The market is very significant. Hey, if you're a buyer, the reality is the market's slower in Q4. There's always houses that are competitive, but as a house sits on the or is listed for sale longer, as on the market longer, does it become less valuable? No. Sellers just usually become a little bit more open minded to negotiating. What happens historically in Q4? Days on market expand. If someone's looking for a deal of value, that right home for you, if it's 1 week on the market, you're probably not going to feel like you got a smoking deal, right? But maybe that home that was listed for sale in July that's still on the market today, and there is nothing wrong with it other than a little stigma, maybe that's your place and opportunity to negotiate. So my advice to buyers would be to be open-minded that if the right house is available for you, to call Krista and I. We'll sign one of those little contracts that says we're dating, a non-exclusive agreement if we don't know you. Let us take you to see the house. If you like our style of representation, and you like the house, we can talk about representing you on that purchase. And if you don't like the house and you think we suck, David, your beard is crappy. I can't not grow a good beard. Hire us. Pretty easy.
You're offended by my dirty, that's clean laundry. Offended by
Yeah.
my clean laundry. I'm sorry. I've got laundry.
In my laundry room right now, there's like 3 geese hang drying.
I need to
And you
wash
know
my
how little
feet.
my little house is. So it's funny. Okay, let's just close it out. Let you close it out, Krista.
Whether you're a buyer or a seller and you have questions about the market and it's ever changing, and I mean, everyone has their own specific need, specific area that you're curious about, hit us up. We love just to sit down and talk to you about what's going on and what makes the most sense for you, right? Because everyone's situation is different.
We'll see you next time.